Man seen dragging girl's body on sidewalk. Then she whispers two spine-chilling words. We live in a society where many people are afraid to speak up or take action when they witness something that's blatantly wrong or should cause alarm. This is because many people live their lives under the principle of, if it doesn't impact or pose a direct threat to me or those I care about, why should I put myself in harm's way? And while to a certain extent this rationale is justified, it's the people who put themselves to the side and selflessly spring into action that end up making the biggest difference. Like the man in this story, their acts of courage deserve to be recognized and honored. Nazier Alahi from Gulf Manor, Ohio, was just living through yet another ordinary day in his life. Generally, like most people, he primarily keeps to himself and minds his own business. It just makes life so much easier when you worry about yourself and block out the world around you. However, this time around, he saw something that truly bothered him in the weirdest way. He noticed a middle-aged man forcefully dragging a girl down the street as he was walking. I noticed that a man was walking down the street taunting a girl behind him, pulling her by the wrist, Alahi told local television station KXIX. When you observe a scene like this, typically you jump to the immediate conclusion that the two must be related to each other. Parents argue and discipline their kids all the time out in public. It's more than likely not something they want to do or be seen doing. But it does happen and most people think nothing of it. After all, who are you, a random stranger, to step in and tell them how to parent their children? It's easy to see why many choose to avoid the unnecessary confrontation. But this instance felt different for Nazier. His first instinct was to casually observe without making things too awkward or obvious while doing so, and then step in if he felt as though it was necessary. Related or not related, certain lines shouldn't be crossed regardless of whether or not the setting is private or public. Nothing out of the ordinary was happening, but Nazier still had this feeling in his bones that things weren't as they seemed. He waited until the man no longer had him in the view and just started staring at the girl being dragged along. What happened next was completely unexpected and changed everything. As Nazier was casually watching the man and girl walk by, he decided to make eye contact with the girl. When their eyes met, the girl whispered and mouthed the words, "Help me," as she continued to be dragged along by the man. The moment Nazier saw the girl utter those words, it felt as though ice was going through his veins. He knew he needed to step up and do something, even if the whole ordeal turned out to be some huge misunderstanding. The girl kept frantically repeating her message for help to Nazier. The first thing he did was walk up to the two of them and ask the girl if she knew the man she was walking with. She completely denied knowing the man that had her arm and was dragging her down the sidewalk. The man with the girl dismissed her claims, said that she's lying for attention, and he's merely taking her back home. The story just didn't seem to add up with what the girl was claiming and how she was acting. Nazier knew in his gut that something was very wrong and that the man's claims might be false, so he decided to call the police to report the suspicious encounter. As the police were being called, the man with the girl, who was later identified as 37-year-old Jesse Woodard Jr., decided he wanted absolutely no part of that and decided to run away from the scene. Nazier did what most who came this far wouldn't dare do. He chased after the man and refused to let him escape. After chasing the man for quite some time, he was finally cornered by police near a local food mart. Jesse Woodard Jr. was detained by police and has since been charged with taking the little girl unlawfully. Police thanked Nazier for being fearless and not hesitating to go out of his way to help the girl. There's no telling what could have happened to her had no one decided to speak up about this strange sequence of events. Nazier is relieved that he was there that day to help the girl that so desperately needed it. If he had gotten that little girl to wherever he was going, she could have been harmed. Alahi said, "If I could have done something else, I would have, but the right thing to do was to call the police and keep the girl safe."